It's Tom from BeeCastle here. I'm really excited today to share the session with James from C-Level Ops, and we're going to be talking today about why is sales such a dirty word in MSP land, which might be a bit contentious. But James, before we jump into the topic, do you want to just introduce yourself and what C-Level do?
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. I'm James Davis, Managing Director of C-Level Operations for APAC, and we're a TSP coaching firm that specializes in helping businesses improve their operational maturity and develop the leadership inside it. So I get to see a lot of MSPs inside and out across all of the different operation areas of the business. And talking sales and it being a dirty word, I really enjoy getting into MSPs and talking about this kind of stuff because it is really one of those neglected areas of our businesses. A lot of the reason for that is it's technical owners. We all come from that background of being a tech, falling into wanting to have some freedom and some control, and then creating a business and doing quite well at that, and then ending up with all these employees. And then apparently you need to do sales to keep growing and maintain businesses. But we've all grown up around the slick used car salesman, the ponytail, and we don't really have an appreciation and a respect for sales.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from. That's why sales is a dirty word. And this is why it's so fun to talk about, because we can make light of this and engage. And it's okay to not want to be a salesperson, but it's also not okay to not want to be a salesperson if you're a business owner, because it's a critical part of any business. And if you're not doing sales, you're not growing. So let's dive in and explore it a bit more. Hey, Tom,
100%, yeah. I guess, James, one of the things the reason why this topic came up for us is that we hear a lot of MSPs, like really successful MSP owners, sit there with their they're running at a run rate of 2-3 mil a year MSP, and they start a meeting with us and say, oh, I'm not really a salesperson. I don't really get sales. And I think that, I guess for me, it's such a loaded term, sales. And everyone thinks of Leo as the hardcore sales teams. But I guess from my side, the interesting dynamic is that if you're an MSP owner and you've built a book of clients and you've started to build a team, you're a salesperson and you're a successful one at that. Which I think is interesting, that kind of. So where do you think this kind of, not shame, but this kind of not wanting to directly address sales head on come from?
I really think it just comes from the technical background. You just, where most people start, you're a tech, and then where do most of your problems come from? It's sales. They just make promises and some outright lie to get the deals over, and then you're the poor guy that's having to pick up the pieces and make it all work and be embarrassed in front of the client. And I think that's where most of it comes from. And I think too, especially with small business owners, because we're organically learning everything, and societally we've been trained to not really talk about money as well. So we don't really like sales. We're not really financially attuned. We're brought up not to talk about it. It's awkward. And that's what sales is all about. Like, it's money and getting someone to make a decision about money. And it doesn't feel comfortable because we haven't actually done that as a job to learn. And we've done that we've learned as a tech. And there's a reason why a lot of the small businesses have grown to this size. The fact that MSPs have been built off the back of owners that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years now, and they are, most of the MSPs are above $1 million. We're talking top percentages wise, and people always get shocked when I say that if you've been running your business for 10 years, you're already in the top 4% of businesses for survivability.
Yep.
If you've got more than 5 employees, you're already in the top 5% of all businesses for team sizes. So MSP owners have done a lot right through their hard work. So just imagine what we can do if we can open ourselves up to be more friendly with sales and embracing it a lot more, how much more opportunity there really is off the back of that expertise there. And
one of the things, James, was obviously at C-level, you talk about operational maturity a lot. I think the interesting dynamic with me in terms of that relationship is that, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that MSP owners feel very comfortable talking about process, structure, around service delivery, that it's not as much an art there, that you can actually make it a machine. And I guess from your side, one gap that I see is that a lot of MSP owners are intimidated by seeing sales as this art. It's very much a personality trait, but don't see it as something that you can mature and you can put structure around and process around to kind of reduce that fear or that concern or that kind of hesitancy.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Tom. A lot of sales is actually the back end processes and structure to frame it all up. There is a key component that is an art with like working with the prospects and the clients. That's the pointy end of the pyramid. The rest of behind the scenes are things like making sure we've got the right product structures. We've got using our sales tools to make it repeatable. The sales to service and project handoff. There's a lot behind there that is just a purely built repeatable engine that enables that success from that sort of pointy end of the pyramid that's in front of the people. And I think that comes to it too, is that a lot of the technical owners are they're people, but they're not. Then they don't generally default to wanting and going to talk to people. That's not their first instinct. The first instinct is I'd rather jump on and do the tech work. And sales really, however you cut it, is all relationship based. And MSP owners are actually really good at developing relationships. They're just not usually good at doing it deliberately because of that instinct to focus on the tech or the process systemization type side rather than going out and talking and working with someone. And that it's not just sales, it's also the people management internally as well, that you see that happen. But when you do be more deliberate and spend more time with that, you can make a lot happen even without the processes and systems behind you. It's just we don't make that deliberate choice to spend time on that because a lot of the time it's just not in our head. We're super busy running a small business. We've got all these bushfires. And I think too, from that perspective, a lot of small business owners, they want to talk to their clients, but you're a little bit introverted. And then most of the time, the talking to clients is reactive. We're not on the front foot. So we don't feel like we're prepared to go talk to a client and we don't know what to talk about. So then we stop ourselves from doing it and we throw more roadblocks up for it instead of taking a step back and go, well, actually, I should be talking to my clients. What sort of things do I need to talk about? And like drive ourselves to go and do that.
Is that part of you, like in terms of that, obviously that maturity journey in sales is a long one, but what are the kind of, if you're an MSP, and we'll get into this deeper in other videos, but if you're an MSP that's looking to grow, you have been growing successfully out of referrals and kind of just being good at delivering for customers. What's the starting point? I think, I guess one observation I'll put out there is that for many MSPs that we see that have that growth ambition, referrals by themselves are not driving the outcome they want or need. The solution often is hiring. and finding someone to do that job. And I guess my observation is that often it takes 2 or 3 hires that fail to actually come to a realization.
Yeah.
So at that sort of persona or that sort of situation, what's the starting point, James, when you're having conversations with these MSPs?
I think the main thing is to really take the first step towards that is actually wanting to do it. Like for a lot of MSP owners, there's a lot of talk about I want to grow. The majority of MSPs that are in this $2 to $3 million range, when I talk to them about like what's your goal in the next sort of 3 to 5 years, they all say in the next 3 to 5 years I'm going to double the business. Everyone does that, and ask them then like how long have you been sitting at this sort of revenues range, and that's usually we've been doing this for the last 3 to 4 years. It's highly unlikely you're going to double the business in the next 3 to 4 years if you've been sitting at this plateau for that sort of long. Like it's having some reality around it helps, and then deciding from a small business owner's perspective is like what do I actually want to get out of this business?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time we're coming from this E-Myth path of falling into the business. Now all of a sudden we're a business owner. We haven't done it as a return on investment. It's not been an investment. So we're not looking at it the way of what money am I actually getting out of it. And for a lot of the ones in the 2 to 3 million size that are feeling a bit stuck, actually they don't need to grow. They can focus on profitability and working with the client base that they've got, and just doing that better and generating a lot more money out of it. Now, how long at the moment is that possible without looking at different things, like increasing cybersecurity and other different things like that? Like, can't be too static at this point, but there is a bit of can sort of concentrate on more organic activities. But even that requires more effort than what you're doing currently. So for most small business owners, outside of the want to do it, is actually once you get past that and go, yep, I actually want to do this. I know I'm the only one in the business at the moment that can do sales, is start to delegate tasks away to free yourself up to actually go and spend the time to do it. Now, small business owner, I've done it many times. It never works as perfectly as that, and it's never a linear path that magically works just because you say it is. But you have to actually prioritize. You always have to choose that actually sales is my main focus, and feel comfortable in saying, no, I'm not going to do this activity, or the person internally is going to do it like 75% right, and that's good enough because I've got to do these things. Because what tends to happen, I see, is the people that want to do it start doing it, get sucked into that whirlwind of everything that's happening, and then they're just, well, I'm too busy today, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm too busy today, I'll do it tomorrow, and just never start and do it. Whereas if you have the discipline to just do it, things will start to fall into line, and that's usually the first step. Like as you said, there's so much around, like as you grow and work on that maturity and what does building a sales engine and pipeline look like, and we'll talk way more about that. But a want and then a prioritization is the big first step.
Yeah, love that. The want is kind of the key one there, I guess. And as we said, probably a good time to stop on this video because it will get deeper into that delegation and how you set yourself up for success to do that. But I guess one note that I guess I'll wrap up from my side is one thing I would recommend for a lot of MSP owners is to take a step back and actually acknowledge, record, like I mean physically write down what you do well as well. Like you've built something, and often there's too much guilt around, you know, a capability gap, but you've also done some real things really well that are repeatable. And when you've got that want and you want to build an engine, often the starting point is, as a leader, you have your own charisma, you have your own processes that you've built that have landed sales. So that's often a good starting point, is to just sit there and say, what do I do well? How, like, of those customers that I've built over time. Why have I been successful doing that? Once you jot that down, you've got half of the sales process kind of mapped out, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like taking that breath to reflect is really important, and yeah, it can be hard sometimes. Self-reflection can be hard, especially if in areas we're not comfortable with. Starting with yourself and like trying to jot some stuff down, yeah, it's great. Like, what have I done to get certain clients? What have we done to get here? What works well? Who are our good clients that we have good relationships, and why? There's so much gold in that. And I say it with a lot of things. One of the things we don't do is actually go and ask our clients, why are they with us? It's such a simple question, and if we've got good relationships, they'll tell us. It could be as simple as you charge the right amount of money, do what we need you to do. It could be, oh, we've got these relationships and you give us the right advice. It'll create that 360 feedback of building the confidence, but also getting a lot clearer understanding of like why people are buying. And that will help build your own confidence to sell. And I think too, one of the big things is a lot of owners don't do. And I know I'm guilty of this, and I've done this in the past, but we don't go and get help. We don't, like, if we're not good at sales and we're like, oh yeah, I could do better at this, like, go do a sales training course. Like, go do Sendler. Like, at least then you've got a basis, even if you don't, like, even if it doesn't resonate with you, but then you get an idea of, well, if I've done Sendler, then that's what the majority of salespeople out in the wilderness are doing. I know what people are learning. You get to take some nuggets and start to bolster the skill sets. So I
Kind
think
of comes back to demystifying as well, right? As in,
yeah,
it's yeah, as you go through that process and like, I guess, learn around what sales is, you see that it's there are standard operating procedures with the sales process. The things you're used to as a tech, you can demystify sales as much as you do, which I think is a big one. So awesome. This has been a really great conversation, James. I guess for me, the obvious conversation from here is you have the want. You're not feeling, you have your want, you're prioritizing, you don't feel that guilt anymore, and you're reflecting, okay, what's from here? How do I build that engine? How do I grow and build a team? I think that's a good conversation for the next session we have.
that sounds great. Thanks for having me, Tom.
Thanks, James.